Sabena. I'm the instructor for it. I have 28 years of experience in education. I've been a classroom teacher, instructional coach, trainer, state leader. I am currently the Director of Assessment for the Delaware Department of Education, where we use the full suite of assessments from College Board. SAT is our accountability assessment for our high school students. So I work with College Board regularly. Before that, I was the state lead for English Language Arts. And I've been an adjunct for Wilmington University and Delaware State University teaching methods courses and English composition courses. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the course that we have for evidence-based reading and writing. And the purpose is to improve current SAT scores on the reading and writing language parts of the SAT and to help students get a better understanding of the expectations. We use multiple practice sets, select passages and questions when we're customizing target sets for students to work on, lecture, and lots of discussion and lots of practice. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So there is a very flexible course schedule. Hong works with the participants that are interested to find a schedule that works best for them. So we've done it many different ways. And I think one of the most important things that I like to do with the students is connect the reading and writing, for the students. So the strategies they use with the reading part of the test, they can also use with the writing and language part of the test. They don't see them done in isolation. And I'll share an example of that for you. So like I said, we give practice tests. The students take practice tests, which gives us a lot of data on what the students need to work on. And I also ask the students, like, what is it that, gets you stuck? What takes a long time? And students will tell us that they just spend too much time on items. They have multiple attempts before they feel like they've gotten the right answer. They miss some of the higher level questions, especially when there's multiple passages. The paired passages tend to slow them down. So I like to find out in the beginning of class what it is that they want to work on. And then I look at the data that comes from their practice test so that we can really customize what it is that we work on in the course. So this is an example of the results of a practice test. So while we can get the incorrect responses, we also get the correct responses, but that we call struggle items. So these are struggle items. So you can see that on the right-hand side, the reason is spent too much time. It'll give you the average time and the student's response time. If it took them multiple attempts to get it. So we not only look at incorrect items, we also look at struggle items as well. We go through and take notes when we're working on a particular domain or a subdomain. So this one's just words and context for the reading test. And students and myself will go through and pull out the important points, and we take notes on Jamboard. And I'll show you what Jamboard looks like in a moment. This is just examples of the lecture portion of the course. And again, the students are actively involved, working together to pull out the key points from the notes, and we put them on Jamboard, and the Jamboard slides become our study guide over time. And I've just put in red some of the key points that they might pull out when we're taking a look at these notes together. I'll keep going there. Once we pull out some notes, we have some practice time. So we can practice the strategies that we've discussed and work through it. Make sure that everybody has a really good understanding of the strategies. So this one was on the words and context. Typically, students will work through this and put their answers in the chat box. They send it to me as a direct message, so I can see specifically how each student has answered the question, and then we discuss it as a group. And for student engagement, we are virtual, so we do use the chat box for note-taking and sharing answer choices. We also use breakout rooms if there's enough students to do collaboration and practice in small groups. This is Jamboard. So this was a particular item that a student was working on. Each student had their own slide within Jamboard. And you can see here that this student, Maddie, was working on the question, and she had all of her evidence over here on the left-hand side. She had her claim. She was explaining the type of evidence. So they have a space where they can work on items during class. I can see exactly what they're working on. I can send direct messages with them, and then we can take a look when everyone's finished as a group. They can explain how they arrived at their evidence and their claim. And because the students really learn very well from each other. Everybody has a different way that they go at the question. So it's good for them to share, and it's good for me to hear their thinking as well. But I can see them as they're working on this because it's in the Google space. And the Jamboard has many slides, so we can keep all of our notes together. So this is just another example when we've gone through and discussed different domains and the students take turns taking notes, and then they're all together in one area. And we look at what's common across the different domains so that we can talk about strategies that we can use across many types of item types instead of looking at everything in isolation. We do use some of the videos that College Board has out in Khan Academy. I specifically like to look at, what's the difference between working through a social science passage versus a literature passage. Social science, you can do some skimming because it's informational and then go to the questions. And literature passages, it's good to start looking at the questions first. It gives a lot of information about the characters and the setting, and then go to the passage and read more deeply. And then we compare and contrast the different strategies and see what might be common for both of them. Help the students to get prepared for the next session. There's always a review of what they're going to be working on. We look to see where we are within the class schedule, and they find out what it is they need to work on to get ready for the next session. So this is just an example of what that could look like. This one is doing practice set 1 along with the reflection and a review of items from session 1. College Board came out with a question bank last year, and I pull from that to customize questions for students to work on. So they'll do a practice set, which gives them the full set of questions as if they were taking the SAT for the reading, writing, and language sections. And then I look to see what they struggled with and what was incorrect. Students also do a reflection. So I look at how they've reflected and what they feel like they need to continue to work on. And then their homework the following week is our questions that are for that specific student based on what they need to work on. And I pull the items from the question bank, and I'm able to pull it. If you look across the top here, you can see that I can choose the item difficulty. I can choose the complexity of the text. So I'm able to really hone in on the type of text the student needs and match that up with the type of questions that they need to work on as well. So I mentioned that the students also do reflections. So each time they do a practice set, they put their data in here and they reflect on their areas of strength and struggle. They turn that in, so I'm able to look at the results of their assessment as well as the reflection, and that helps me to customize the next session that we have together. And then that session may be a review of particular items that the students worked on so we can work through the struggle items. And then I customize their homework for the following week by student based on what they need to work on using that item bank that I shared with you. So it's constantly practice, reflecting, looking at the data, and customizing the sessions each week. And we just keep building on it like that all the way through. So this is one of our students that this is their first practice set, and they had scored a 660. And you can see these are all the items, the types of, these are the subdomains that they needed to work on. By the time they got to practice set 3, they were at a 740, and they were down to this particular subdomain that they needed to work on. So if they leave the course, they still have 1 or 2 items that they have not mastered, then I share with them the question bank so they can go in and pull items and make their own custom sets to keep practicing. And we also have all of our Jamboard slides that they can go back and review and practice as well. So they can always contact me at any time. They can email me, they can